If Kobe were to team up with Wade and Bosh, could they turn the Heat into the second super dynasty after the Cavaliers dynasty? After Kobe and James swapped careers, Kobe won 5 championship trophies in a row and turned the Cavaliers into a powerhouse. But in the summer of 2010, he found himself deeply embroiled in various controversies. As the saying goes, greatness attracts both praise and criticism. Because of his strength, he had countless fans, but also because of his strength, he gained many blind and ignorant haters. Those people kept mocking Kobe's championships, claiming they were only won because of Gilbert's unlimited indulgence and lavish spending to buy out the entire league, making them undeserved. Even more shamelessly, some people had the nerve to say that Kobe's desire to stay with one team for his whole career was only because, once he left Cleveland, this powerhouse team, he would be worthless and never win a championship again. Faced with such irrational and unreasonable nonsense, Kobe simply responded, "Love me or hate me, it's up to you." But the fans on the road could not accept this disgraceful rhetoric and spoke out in various ways to defend Kobe. However, when the league executives, led by the Bulls owner, commissioned Stern to impose an extremely unfair penalty on the Cavaliers under the guise of basketball reasons, the situation left almost no room for negotiation. Because the Cavaliers' nearly insane spending on acquisitions, combined with Kobe's overwhelming strength, so powerful that he was almost deified, left other teams in the league with not even a glimmer of hope for a championship. In response, the league introduced an absurd rule: if Kobe chose to re-sign with Cleveland in the summer of 2010, the Cavaliers would not be allowed to have any draft picks for the next 4 years, all in an effort to balance the league's competitive landscape. The only way to quell all this discontent was for Kobe to leave the Cavaliers and depart from Cleveland. Faced with such a cruel separation, the hearts of Cleveland fans were nearly broken. They could hardly bear to give up their city's hero, so every fan in Cleveland unanimously decided that they would immediately buy the jersey of Kobe's new team to support his new chapter in his playing career. And Gilbert, through a public letter of gratitude, deeply thanked Kobe for his wholehearted and unreserved dedication over the past 7 years. Kobe and Cleveland's love for each other had always been mutual, so faced with this situation, Kobe couldn't help but drop his usual resolute expression. He made a heartfelt promise to Cleveland fans that he would definitely fulfill. 4 years later, no matter how battered the Cavaliers roster was, he would return to Cleveland without fail, because here were his most beloved fans, and the promise he had never forgotten, an ongoing commitment with the best owner in the league, Gilbert, that went beyond just 7 championships. The news of Kobe's departure instantly ignited the entire league, with every team eager to make a move for him. Among those most desperate to acquire Kobe were the Spurs and Lakers in the West, and the Heat and Knicks in the East. However, for Kobe, the most attractive destination was undoubtedly the Miami Heat on the South Beach. 2 of his best brothers from the Redeem team, Wade and Bosh, had already agreed on a plan to team up in Miami and had repeatedly extended invitations to Kobe. Heat president Pat Riley, in particular, showed the utmost sincerity. He promised that if Kobe joined the Heat, not only would they build a large statue for him in the future, but they would also retire a unique 2-color spliced number 8 jersey, half in Cavaliers colors and half in Heat colors, comparable to Jordan's. To maximize his sincerity, Riley even gave Kobe his 4 championship rings, proudly saying, "Return these 4 rings to me after you finish your Heat career." In response, Kobe smiled and said, "I appreciate the kindness, but I only want real championship rings that I earn myself. And if nothing goes wrong, 4 years from now, you might have 4 new rings because of us." With that, Kobe's Cavaliers tenure came to a temporary end, and his Heat career was about to kick off in full force. To stoke the fire even more, Riley didn't just recruit a big 3. He also signed the Cavaliers' superstar center, Ilgauskas, to a veteran minimum contract. Although anyone with eyes could see that Big Z simply couldn't bear to part ways with his brotherly bond with Kobe, it was undeniable that in just one summer, Riley had assembled such a luxurious lineup while spending $18 million less in salary than the Cavaliers did the previous season. Even if the league wanted to intervene, they could find no justification. The title of The Godfather was truly well-deserved. Compared to Kobe's fortune of always being on a marquee team, James's career could only be described as one of hard work and dedication. Although he chose to leave in anger for the 3rd time during the 2010 offseason, when I used the time stone to bring him back to the Lakers, he was emotionally conflicted, but still displayed a high level of professionalism. He continued to lead the Lakers with his strong ability to carry the team and endured relentless battles against the many Western powerhouses. This is why championships alone cannot define a player's greatness. On one side, the Lakers were trudging through the mud in the West, struggling to climb, while on the other, the Heat were soaring through the East, sweeping all before them. Their lineup was so unstoppable. This has completely stripped the game of fairness and justice, because aside from the 2 all-around superstars Wade and Bosh, the epic inside-outside duo of Kobe and Ilgauskas alone was already virtually unbeatable. Even though Big Z was slightly older, the powerful alliance of 4 superstars still turned all their opponents into CBA-level players. At the season opener, the Celtics, ranked among the top 3 in the Eastern Conference in terms of strength, were visibly beaten without any means of resistance. The Celtics' ace scorer, Pierce, was even defended by Kobe and his teammates to the point where he made only 16 points on 23 shots. The Heat's lineup was so unstoppable that even looking back at the vast 55-year history of the NBA, it was extremely rare. So unsurprisingly, the Heat essentially breezed through the regular season. Despite Ilgauskas being sidelined for over half a month due to injury, they still racked up 71 wins, leading the rest of the Eastern Conference teams by a wide margin. And Kobe, with an incredibly efficient shooting percentage, outpaced Durant, Rose, James, and others to emphatically claim the scoring title, while continuing to be awarded the regular season MVP trophy, which he had always regarded as a team honor. It turned out that Kobe, when not double-teamed, was terrifyingly dominant. Even more terrifying was that Kobe's arrival not only did not overshadow the explosive individual performances of Wade and Bosh, but it also allowed more people to witness their ferocious offensive and defensive prowess. He and Wade were both selected to the All-NBA first team, while Bosh was named to the All-NBA third team. With such a star-starred lineup, it inevitably made the other protagonist of our story, James, appear increasingly isolated. Year after year, he remained the sole two-way player and the soul of the purple and gold for the Lakers. Even in the fiercely competitive Western Conference, he still led the team to a third-place finish. However, all of the top 6 teams in the West were powerhouse teams with 50-plus wins, all closely matched in strength, which signaled that the Lakers' playoff path was bound to be fraught with thorns. After all, the scene of the Lakers' humiliating defeat to the Trail Blazers the previous year was still vividly fresh in memory. Perhaps if I had not repeatedly used the time stone to forcefully keep James in place, he would have long been able to reap the benefits of playing against those weaker Eastern Conference teams. And as I watched James suffer another gentleman's sweep at the hands of the Trail Blazers, a deep sense of guilt welled up in my heart. For this reason, I secretly resolved that in the future, I would ensure James had the best teammates in the world, and I would make him walk the same career path as Jordan to make up for my guilt toward him. Over 5 games, James's greatness was evident to all. His massive triple-double in Game 3 and his near-triple doubles in Games 4 and 5 all highlighted his unparalleled game control and dominance. To be fair, such explosive statistics were something that neither the former god of basketball, Jordan, nor the current 5-time champion Kobe could easily match. Just as everyone was complaining that the Eastern Conference games were too one-sided and the process too boring, an unexpected twist suddenly came out of nowhere. In the 4th game of the first round of the Eastern Conference Finals, Bosh unexpectedly suffered a severe concussion, ruling out any chance of a return this season and marking his season as completely over. Of course, even so, the Heat's roster still firmly suppressed the 5th-seeded Pacers in the East, and after just 4 games, they brutally bulldozed their way into the Eastern Conference Finals. In Game 1, Kobe went on a rampage, posting a James-esque stat line of 41 plus 10 plus 5 and 5 steals, single-handedly dismantling the Pacers. Before the Pacers could catch their breath, Kobe stormed back in Game 2 with an even more dominant performance of 42 plus 12 plus 6 assists, nearly shattering the Pacers' will to fight. By Game 3, he forcefully elevated his aggression even further, unleashing a devastating 57 plus 12 plus 5 assist bombardment that left the Pacers completely defenseless. In the final game, if not for being ejected early on 6 fouls, Kobe would surely have delivered another 50-point scoring spectacle. After a round of merciless slaughter, the fans were all on high alert, everyone eagerly anticipating a clash between the Heat and the Bulls, the 2 offensive powerhouses of the Eastern Conference. Unfortunately, the Heat lost Ilgauskas to injury, while the Bulls lost Rose, the league's 3rd best player behind only Kobe and Durant, making the Eastern Conference Finals utterly predictable. Everyone could close their eyes and guess the result, a 4-0 sweep. Thankfully, Kobe and Wade didn't disappoint the fans, showcasing their full arsenal of skills. In Game 2 of the series, both erupted for 40-plus points, and in Games 3 and 4, they continued to dominate together, helping the Heat maintain their perfect record and advance to the NBA Finals. In previous years, the Western Conference had largely been dominated by the Spurs, but in the 2011 Western Conference Finals, the newly risen powerhouse Thunder brutally swept the Spurs aside with a 4-1 series victory. Such overwhelming strength made even the Heat uncertain whether they could match it, so this final series was bound to be a fierce battle. Sure enough, as soon as Game 1 tipped off, the Thunder displayed the killer skills that allowed them to dominate the West. The athleticism of Thunder superstar point guard Westbrook was almost a mismatch for Chalmers. Even though Chalmers was no slouch, Westbrook managed to secure offensive rebounds for second chance points and executed precise kickouts after explosive drives over 2 consecutive possessions. His all-around ability forced the Heat to stay fully focused. The troubling part was that the Thunder had more than one player with such attributes. The young Harden could also attack and pass effectively. The Thunder's young guns went toe-to-toe with the Heat in an offensive shootout without showing any fear. In particular, Durant, dubbed the long-armed Wolf Spider, though young, used his exceptional wingspan to block Kobe's shots twice in the opening moments, earning widespread admiration. However, it is no easy task for Durant to break through the Heat's defense, as the Heat roster boasts 2 perimeter defenders of first-team, all-defensive caliber. The young and slender Durant, often finds himself knocked off balance and his movements distorted under relentless pressure. Once the Heat seizes the opportunity for a fast break in transition, the Thunder's lack of defensive experience becomes a fatal weakness. Although both teams are equally gifted with talent, the Heat's Kobe and Wade are complete players on both ends of the floor, and they are now at the absolute peak of their careers. Both physically and mentally, they had the young Thunder players firmly under control. They led every single quarter throughout the 4 quarters, maintaining the Heat's undefeated home record. They were like 2 relentless scoring machines, one specialized in driving, the other in shooting, yet there was no discernible pattern to their game. It was virtually impossible to guard just one of them, let alone withstand the full-throttle assault of 2 tireless superstars. In comparison, the Thunder's franchise player, Durant, was severely limited in his performance. By the end of the game, his stamina had clearly waned under Kobe's tenacious defense. He made only 7 of 24 field goals, missed all 5 of his 3-point attempts, and was forced into committing 5 turnovers. Relying solely on a third-year Westbrook to wreak havoc was clearly not enough for them to have a realistic chance of winning. Fortunately, Durant is no quitter. In Game 2, he once again faced Kobe head-on both ends and set an example of a true leader. Although he could have easily asked Harden to guard Kobe and Westbrook to guard Wade while he matched up with the much easier assignment of Chalmers, thereby conserving his energy for offense, Durant chose not to. After all, even if he expended a great deal of energy to stop Wade or Kobe on a particular possession, if that defensive effort did not result in a block or a steal, it would not be reflected in any advanced statistics. Yet Durant still took on the responsibility of being a team leader without hesitation. Unfortunately, they suffered another defeat at the American Airlines Arena. However, no one criticized Durant for it, considering the magnitude of Kobe's evolution that year. Moreover, with Wade on the floor, no team dared to double-team Kobe. Durant was only a 4th-year player at the time, and managing to score 27 points while being worn down by Kobe's relentless, sticky defense was already a remarkable achievement. Of course, if the Thunder did not want to squander their first-ever finals appearance, Durant had to elevate his impact on the game even further in Game 3. But the Heat clearly had no intention of letting the Thunder settle into their preferred offensive and defensive rhythm. Even on the Thunder's home court, Kobe and Wade were firing on all cylinders, applying pressure from the very first second of the game. On offense, they took turns dominating. On defense, they both applied intense pressure. Additionally, Ilgauskas showed clear signs of improvement from his injury, further enhancing the Heat's rebounding and rim protection. All of this left the Thunder's defense scrambling and increasingly unable to cover all areas. In contrast, the Heat steadfastly maintained their aggressive man-to-man defensive approach. In particular, Kobe's defense against Durant was even more impenetrable than in the previous 2 games, making it hard for Durant to execute his various offensive weapons with ease. As the game progressed, the momentum between the Thunder and the Heat shifted back and forth to such an extent that even the Thunder's home fans could see no hope of victory for their team. After a 20-point blowout loss, they completely lost all hope of winning the championship. The primary reason the Thunder made it to the finals was Durant. But in the finals, Kobe greatly reduced Durant's threat through physical confrontation and by limiting his drives to the right. Despite this, Durant's performance still received great praise, considering that the Kobe in the finals was already the most successfully limited version of him throughout the entire 2011 playoffs. In the first round, his field goal percentage was a terrifying 56.9%. In the second round, it was 54.2%. And in the Eastern Conference Finals, it remained high at 52.7%. It was only in the finals, because he had to expend a great deal of energy defending Durant, while also shooting over Durant's long arms, that Kobe managed just a 51.3% field goal percentage. After this battle, everyone saw the immense potential of Durant and the Thunder as a team. Perhaps they would come back strong next season. By then, could the Heat, who were aiming to defend their title, withstand another challenge from the Thunder's young guard? Could Kobe continue to increase his championship count, win a 7th ring, and surpass basketball god Jordan? Folks, if you want to know what happens next, you'll have to listen to the next chapter.